Terence Nombembe assumed the position of Auditor General in 2006. After a 7-year contract, his term of office has come to an end. He is said to be casting his eyes on the planned school of governance. In his word, there's no shortage of theory or shortage of business school information, but the only thing you bring to these platforms is the values of truth, honesty, and integrity. Terence Nombembe is joining us in studio now to tell us more. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thanks, Liam.
I know you're a busy man, and to fit these interviews into your schedule must be quite hectic. But as you say, you're counting down the days now. 2 more weeks left in the position.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
How are you feeling?
Very good, because I believe most of the work that needed to be done has begun to take shape, particularly the campaign to encourage dialogue between the office as well as the leadership, both in the oversight as well as in the executive, in all 3 spheres of government. We've done a lot of work in that kind of space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're running in the news now. Yesterday, you were releasing a report, and just to take the first sentence of it, of you saying a pattern of positive outcomes in government spending and accounting is beginning to emerge, but the improvements are slight, and governments needs to move quickly to sustain its improvements. Is that, in a nutshell, how you feel? Is that where we're at right now?
That statement is absolutely correct, because we're now beginning to see the stabilization of the environment that we wanted to create, where leadership takes primary responsibility and ownership of the issues of governance, issues of internal control, and allowing time to get engaged on what may be obstructing leadership to actually have control over these areas. And with that dialogue, we have got a lot more opportunity to deal even with the most difficult of the challenges that we need to conquer in order to sustain good governance in government.
Yeah. You go on to say the areas of concern remain the areas where government has shown no improvement in almost over 3 years. What areas are we looking at?
Mm-hmm. You know, the main area, we've identified basically 5 areas that we thought were high risk for government. The issue around supply chain management. It is still a major area of concern. Issue around the quality of the financial information, the quality of service delivery information as well. Yeah. That coupled with the tools of trade being human resources as well as IT. Those are the 5 areas that we've identified as critically important to really bed down. And that can only happen if the internal controls throughout the system are embedded and are strengthened. With that in mind, and with that situation having been satisfied of good internal controls, we will have a better chance of getting to the bottom of what has been frustrating the system over the past years.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the frustrations you've been through? Because I'm sure, you know, auditing over and over again and seeing some of these things repeating themselves, and you just, you know, saying, come guys, we need to improve on this, we need to improve on this. What for you has been the greatest challenge during your tenure?
We've actually drilled this down to 3 fundamental areas. The one is the adequate skilling of government with the right competencies. That going hand in hand with the filling of vacancies, especially at senior levels of responsibility. The other one relates to the good performance management, which will translate naturally to having good feedback and good consequences for people that don't perform according to expectations. And the bigger one, which I believe is getting sorted out now, is the tone of the leadership, where they take primary accountability for what needs to be done. Those are the 3 areas that we have drilled down to identify what is in the way, what is an obstacle to getting sustainability in the results of government.
Yeah. Unauthorized spending. I mean, that's another issue that certainly must plague you. We're having a look. Unauthorized expenditure totaling 2.3 billion rand was incurred by 32 departments. You know, when you look around and you see that so much is needed in the country, and yet this unauthorized expenditure, I mean, that must be very frustrating when you're seeing leaks like this.
Yes. In fact, we normally look at unauthorized expenditure in conjunction with irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure as a package.
Yeah.
And to conquer that one needs to make sure that adherence to the rule of law, adherence to the prescripts of the regulations and the Finance Management Act is taken seriously. Because these are instances where spending tends to exceed what was deemed to be affordable by governments. And that can lead to a risk of fiscal instability in certain instances.
Yeah.
And it's for that reason that we've added, in fact, in the key risk areas, a sixth item, which is called financial stability, just to make sure that the effect of the unauthorized expenditure, the effect of overruns in the budgets are not hurting the overall viability of a province or a government entity or department.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, and this is the last I'm going to ask of you of this, because I actually want to talk about you as opposed to auditors. 96 auditees, government departments and public entities improved and 61 regressed. These are the official figures from yesterday. There are now 24 departments and 81 public entities with clean audit outcomes. Are you satisfied with leaving at a time like this?
Mm-hmm. I would say I'm satisfied, Leanne, because the trend is moving in the right direction. It's greatly regretted that there is a high proportion of departments and entities that are moving backwards. And one thing that we emphasized was how important it's supposed to be to curb any form of going backwards or regression in the audit outcomes. And that can only be done if we really intensify the sustainability of the internal control environment. But the fact that the majority are moving in the right direction is what we need to now encourage and fuel and make sure that no one has got a chance of going backwards at all.
Would you like to have stayed on? Would you have liked to continue?
I certainly wouldn't have liked to continue because I believe I've done what I have set for myself to do, which was to, by and large, create an environment where dialogue would happen in a kind of easy way and in a kind of a way that will encourage openness and honesty in the way in which we deal with the issues of governance. And that, I believe, has been achieved.
Yeah. You've stated that you would like to be very actively involved in the School of Governance, alongside of Lindiwe Sisulu. Is this something that you are going to be doing? Can we see you taking your pearls of wisdom and handing them over?
Indeed. It's something I would never even think of turning my back on, the stability of that concept, because it emerged out of what we've been recommending as well as an audit office. To say if we want to improve the culture of good governance, there's got to be a properly established institute or institution that does that work continuously. It can't be something that is done on a part-time basis or on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
And really to make that concept to really stand on its feet and stabilize is something that I would be willing to participate in whatever capacity.
What are you going to be doing? Once the 30th of November comes, what are you going to be doing? Obviously taking a break, I imagine, in December. But have you got future career plans?
You stole my thunder. I was going to say I would need to take a break first.
I figured that out.
Yes.
December, I don't want to see you having a job in December. What are you doing? What's on your cards?
Yeah. No, I'm still exploring a couple of options.
Okay.
But the major issue for me is that I need to be in an institution, I need to be in a vehicle that will enable me to still make a contribution to stabilizing issues of professionalism in the public sector. I think that's my biggest desire. That's my biggest wish. My experience with the public sector is such that the public sector is the catalyst for economic stability and sustainability in the country.
Yeah.
And therefore, if that is to be sustained, we need to get more professionals to have an interest in working for the public service.
Yeah, because certainly your wife doesn't expect to see much of you. I was reading and she was saying, you're too active. There's no way you can take an early retirement. So you're still going to be very active out there, no doubt. And I'm also reading that you have unbelievable dancing skills.
I'm not quite sure where that comes from.
I have no idea. But Parliament are talking about it. They should tell you that I'm reading that they're saying that you could be on Strictly Come Dancing, that you've got such great dancing skills. Such a quiet man like you.
Well, as part of, I suppose, an exercise activity, it's something I could consider.
Oh, I love you, Mr. Nombembe. You are so serious. I love you. You have done so well. And I mean, you know, the wonderful thing is that everybody that you're reading, that reads about you, is the integrity that comes with the position that you've held. And everybody speaks so highly of you. So well done on your job and good luck for the future going forward.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on the show.
An absolute pleasure. The outgoing Auditor General, Terence Nombembe, he ends the end of this month and then taking a holiday. And then, of course, that certainly is not going to be the last we see of this man here actively involved in South Africa.